Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here again, trying to piece together these scattered fragments of knowledge, ancient and modern, really synthesizing them to give you that cheat sheet for understanding your reality.
And today, yeah, it's a big one. We're tracing this line, this lineage, you could say, from modern tech, predictive algorithms, even basic human behavior.
All the way back.
All the way back, straight to the principles laid down by the ancient Egyptian master Thoth, the architect of divine wisdom, messenger of the god. Quite the title.
So our mission today, let's be clear, it's pretty specific, right? We're not just talking vague spirituality here.
No. Definitely not. We're digging for what our sources are calling the actual code running your day experience, moving past philosophy into things you can actually measure, verify, truths about consciousness, about.
In this code, you're saying it's not locked away somewhere?
Not at all. It's right here. It's encoded in the software tracking your clicks, in the logos of the biggest companies out there, even in the shape of the rooms. It's like this invisible operating system that's been running the show for, well, millennia.
Okay, let's unpack that initial hook, because I can hear some listeners thinking, hold on, Egyptian principles in my phone's algorithm. Yeah. That sounds, well, a bit out there.
I get it, but it's rooted in, let's say, the mathematics of psychological persuasion, archetypal power. Thoth, as the scribe, the messenger, he understood symbols, numbers, sequences.
And algorithms are all about sequence optimization.
Exactly. The ones tracking your eyes, predicting what you'll buy next. They use sequences designed for maximum engagement, maximum influence, and those optimized sequences, they often line up mathematically with these ancient, very effective methods of, let's call it induction or persuasion.
Okay, give me a big example. You mentioned Google's colors. That's not just like branding 101.
Far from it. Think about it. Red, yellow, blue, green, those primary colors with that little green alegory. It mirrors what's known as Thoth's sacred tetrad.
The tetrad, what does that represent?
It represents the four essential elements or forces of. And interestingly, these also map almost perfectly onto the lower chakra system, the energy centers in the body.
So Google, by using these colors,
they're subtly positioning themselves in your subconscious. They become the gateway, the essential sort of harmonious portal to all knowledge. It's leveraging a really ancient symbol of foundational power, of authority.
Wow. And Apple. That bitten Apple logo is so iconic.
Yeah.
Simple, but
incredibly potent, right? It taps directly into that primal story of the Garden of Eden, Prometheus, the whole idea of getting forbidden knowledge to transcend limitations.
And Thoth's wisdom was often seen as secret for initiates only.
Precise. So Apple is selling you transcendence through technology. Every time you buy their latest gadget, subconsciously, we're replaying that desire to access some kind of divine or secret wisdom, even if it's just a software update.
Yeah. And Meta, Facebook's parent company, with the infinity loop.
That's another direct echo. Thoth spoke about eternal return, cycles, wisdom. The logo suggests endless possibility.
But maybe also a system you can't escape.
That's the subtle implication, isn't it? An eternal loop, perhaps, of attention harvest. Look, these companies aren't successful by accident. They are, whether fully consciously or not, tapping into the oldest, deepest psychological triggers we know.
Okay, this is where it potentially gets very real for you, the listener. If this stuff is resonating, if you've seen repeated numbers lately, the classic 11.11, 3.33.
Or maybe just feeling this strange pull towards hidden knowledge. Sometimes it can even feel disruptive.
Yeah, our sources suggest these aren't just random coincidences.
They're potential signs of what's being termed a reality shift. It's like the energy, the frequency associated with Thoth, the architect, is activating certain people, pinging your awareness, say.
So if you're feeling this, you might be selected.
Selected for a deeper understanding, yeah. An understanding of how things really work. Recognizing these signals, these little breadcrumbs, might be crucial right now before this window of activation perhaps shifts again.
All right, so if we're ready for the manual, let's start at the beginning, the core operating system. We need to really dive into the Hermetic principles. The outline mentions 13 from Thoth's Emerald Tablets, but we're focusing on the first 7 essential ones.
That's the plan. Because these first 7, they're not just philosophical ideas. They are the mechanics, the actual physics of how consciousness interacts with reality, how thought shapes matter. Understand these, and you move from being, well, maybe an unconscious player to a conscious operator.
Okay, number 1, the big one, mentalism. The all is mind. The universe is mental. This gets boiled down to think positive a lot, but it's way more fundamental, isn't it?
Way more. It means that fundamentally, reality is mental. Matter is secondary to thought, a projection of mind. And modern neuroscience actually gives us incredible validation for it.
Like the Olympic athletes visualizing their performance.
Exactly. Let's look closer at that. When a top athlete vividly imagines, say, sinking 50 perfect free throws, brain scans show the exact same motor cortex regions lighting up as if they were physically doing it. They haven't moved, but neurally, The experience is real. The mind generates a reality simulation that the brain treats as actual.
The implications are huge. If the mind generates reality like that, then our strongest beliefs, our mental programs, they're basically scripting our lives.
Pretty much. Look at the placebo effect. That's mentalism in action, clear as day. People believe they got a real drug and boom, measurable changes. Blood chemistry shifts, tumors shrink, pain vanishes. The belief, the mental program, literally rewrites the body's physical state.
But there's a flip side, right? The outline mentions the nocebo effect, the shadow side.
Yes, and this is crucial for daily life. Nocebo is how self-limiting beliefs manifest as reality. If you constantly run the program, I'm not smart enough for that job, or I'll never have enough money, your subconscious takes that as an instruction.
So it filters reality to match the instruction.
Exactly. You literally won't see opportunities that contradict the belief. You might unconsciously sabotage an interview. You overlook potential partners who don't fit your not good enough script. You program yourself and even your environment to reject anything that clashes with that core negative belief.
That flows directly into the second principle, correspondence. As above, so below. As below, so above. If the universe is mental, our outer world has to mirror our inner world.
Perfectly put. It means patterns. What happens on the grand cosmic scale, the macrocosm, is reflected in the smallest detail, the microcosm, and vice versa. Applied to us, it means your personal reality, your microcosm, is a direct mirror of your internal program, inner cosmos.
Can you give some really down-to-earth examples? How does this show up?
Okay, think about money. If someone has deep-seated feelings of, say, unworthiness, their financial life often mirrors that constant struggle, debt, inability to hold on to wealth. It reflects the internal state. Or hoarding physical stuff, often a mirror of hoarding old emotions, fear, unresolved energy.
And a messy house reflecting a mess.
It's a class. A chaotic, cluttered home isn't just untidy, it's often an energetic match, a physical printout of a chaotic, cluttered internal state. The outer reflects the inner.
So the power here isn't just seeing the reflection, it's using it.
Yeah, that's the practical magic. If you feel mentally blocked, maybe instead of just meditating, try clearing the physical clutter in your room for 30. Clean something, organize. By changing the pattern on the external level, the below, you create an energetic ripple that forces a corresponding shift internally, the above. It can actually be a faster way to shift the inner program times.
Okay, number 3, vibration. Everything is in motion, everything vibrates. How do we use that law?
Well, first, recognize that your emotional state is a frequency. It's measurable energetically. You know, when you walk into a room after an argument and you can feel the tension, you're literally sensing the residual low frequency energy. Thoth's principle says like attracts like. Frequencies naturally seek resonance, they synchronize. So your dominant emotional frequency acts like a broadcast signal.
So tuning your frequency isn't just new age talk, it's literal.
It's literal physics applied consciously. Think of yourself like a radio. If you're constantly tuning into low vibe stations, fear-mongering news, toxic relationships, complaining your personal frequency gets dragged down, and guess what? You attract more experiences that match that low frequency.
And the opposite is true too.
Absolutely. Surround yourself with higher vibrational influences, uplifting music, especially music tuned to natural frequencies like 432 hertz, which we'll get in. Time and nature, positive, creative people. You literally retune your receiver. You start attracting experiences that resonate with that higher, more harmonious.
Okay, let's bundle the next 4 together as the outline suggests: polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, and gender. They seem interconnected. Let's start with polarity, the 4th principle.
Right. Polarity states everything is dual, everything is poles, opposites. But here's the kicker. Those opposites are actually just 2 extremes of the same thing.
Like hot and cold are both just temperature.
Exactly. Not separate things, just different degrees on the temperature spectrum. Same with love and hate. Both are forms of intense emotional connection, just at different ends. Light and dark, courage and fear, poverty and wealth.
How does knowing that give us power?
It gives you the power of transmutation. Instead of trying to destroy fear, you recognize it's on the same energy spectrum as courage. Fear is just low frequency courage. So you don't fight the fear, you raise your frequency along that spectrum, consciously moving towards the courage pole. You transmute the energy.
So you're not eliminating the negative pole, you're just choosing where on the spectrum to operate.
Precise. You don't deny poverty exists. You work on transmuting the energy of lack towards the abundance pole of that same worth spectrum. It's about consciously shifting your vibration.
Okay, 5th principle, rhythm. Everything flows out and in, rises and falls. The pendulum swing manifests in everything.
This is the law of cycle. Life isn't static. It moves in waves, oscillation. Day follows night. Economies boom and bust. Your own energy levels peak and dip. The person unaware of this gets tossed around by the waves.
Overjoyed on the upswing, crushed on the downswing.
Right. They're a victim of the rhythm. But the conscious operator, the master, understands the swing is inevitable.
Well, they prepare.
They anticipate. In business, they know a boom will eventually correct, so they save and plan during the high time. In personal energy, they learn their own ultradian rhythms, those 90-minute energy cycles, and they work with them, taking breaks during the dips instead of forcing themselves into burnout. Understanding rhythm lets you ride the wave instead of being wiped out by it.
Next, number 6, cause and effect. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. This sounds like karma, but maybe more direct.
It is, in a way, but stripped of moral judgment. It's pure mechanics. Nothing is random. If you feel like you're just a victim of circumstances, your job, your health, you've essentially abdicated your power as a cause.
And the key thing is that causes often start way before the effect shows up physically.
Exactly. The most powerful causes are mental and emotional. They operate on those unplanes for years before they crystallize to a physical.
So if I start thinking differently today, feeling different, the results might not show up tomorrow.
Probably not instantly, no. If you've spent years broadcasting the mental cause, life is a struggle, that creates a corresponding physical effect, a reality filled with struggle. To change the effect, you have to persistently introduce a new cause, a sustained mental and emotional program of, say, life. The old effects might linger for a bit, like momentum, but you're now consciously planting seeds for a different harvest. You're taking back the helm as the cause, fundamental to sovereignty.
And finally, the 7th principle, gender. Gender is in everything, masculine and feminine principles. And this isn't about biological sex, right?
Absolutely not. These are cosmic energies, principles of creation. The masculine is the projective force, direction, focus, action, doing. Think of it like the spark, the seed. The feminine is the receptive force, creativity, nurturing, intuition, flow, being. Think of it like the fertile ground, the container.
And you need both for anything to be good.
You need the dynamic balance of both. Look at modern society. We often overvalue the pure masculine, constant action, pushing, forcing, analyzing, achieving. That leads straight to burnout, stress, and often actions that lack real heart or intuition.
And neglecting the feminine.
Leads to inaction, maybe lots of ideas, but no manifestation, being scattered, lacking focus. The goal for the conscious operator is to balance these within yourself and your life. Set a clear intention, take focused action, but also allow space for intuition, receive guidance, flow with opportunities. Feminine, it's a dance.
That's a perfect bridge. We've covered the, let's say, software of the mind. Now let's shift to the hardware, the objective, measurable structure encoded in reality itself. The math that Thoth apparently embedded everywhere.
Exactly. We move from the mental blueprint to the physical structure, and mathematics is the language that connects. The golden thread running through it all is often cited as the golden ratio, phi, approximately 1.61.
Right, phi. Remind us, where do we see this number showing up?
Oh, it's almost spooky how pervasive. It's in the spiral arms of galaxies, the proportions of DNA molecules, the branching of trees, the structure of seashells like the nautilus. Even in your own body, the ratios of your finger bones, your forearm to your upper arm.
So it's like nature's preferred pattern for growth and form.
It seems to represent the most efficient way for energy to flow, for things to pack together. And interestingly, it's also what the human eye finds most aesthetically pleasing. It's like a fundamental constant of beauty and efficiency built into the fabric of reality.
And the ancient Egyptian with the Great Pyramid. They weren't just stumbling on.
The evidence suggests a profound understanding. The dimensions of the Great Pyramid encode phi and pi, 3.141, with incredible act. Some analyses, controversial but persistent, even suggest the pyramid's measurements encode the speed of light to several decimals. This wasn't just symbolic geometry. It implies advanced physics, engineering consciousness with stone and number.
Which has echoes today, surprisingly, in places like the stock market.
Absolutely. Financial markets, driven by mass human psychology, fear, and greed, follow these natural laws. They move in rhythms and cycles. And remarkably, price movements often retrace, meaning they pull back, to specific percentage levels derived directly from the Fibonacci sequence, which itself is intimately linked to phi.
Fibonacci, that's the 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8 sequence, right? How does that predict market moves?
Traders use Fibonacci retracement level 38.50, 61.8% related to Fizz invert as potential support or resistance. After a big price move up or down, the market will often pull back to one of these Fibonacci for continuing the trend. The fact that mass human behavior in markets adheres to this mathematical pattern so often, well, it confirms that collective consciousness isn't random. It follows these underlying elegant structures, Thoth.
This idea of structure influencing consciousness brings us to architecture. Gothic cathedrals using sacred proportions.
Yes, they were massive. The soaring height of the nave compared to its width, placement of columns, the use of pointed arches. These weren't just aesthetic choices. They were engineered using golden ratio proportions and other sacred geometry principles to literally shape the energy.
Create a feeling.
More than a feeling, a state of consciousness. The proportions, combined with light and sound, were designed to enhance alpha brainwave, induce feelings of awe, quiet the ego and elevate the cathedral was a technology for conscious expansion.
And the contrast with modern corporate or institutional architecture.
Often it's the opposite. Think of many modern office buildings, shopping malls, standardized school. The proportions can feel slightly off, jarring. Low ceilings, boxy rooms, lack of natural flow. This subtle violation of harmonious ratios, whether intentional or not, can create a background hum of psychological,
making people more restless, maybe less able to think deeply.
Potentially, yes, a subtle, low-level anxiety or restless. If your environment constantly feels slightly disharmonious, it might make you less centered, less likely to engage in deep, independent thought, and perhaps more susceptible to external direction or distraction.
This suppression, or maybe manipulation, extends even to sound. The shift in music tuning in 1939 seems really significant here.
It's a fascinating and controversial piece, but highly relevant to The standard tuning pitch for the note A was debated for centuries, often hovering around 430. But in 1939, an international conference helped solidify a 440 Hz standard.
Why does that 8 Hz difference matter so much?
Proponents of 432 Hz tuning argue that it's mathematically resonant with natural cycles, planetary frequency, the Schumann resonance of the Earth, potentially even the human heartbeat and optimal brainwave states associated with calm, focus, like alpha and theta. Music tuned to 432 Hz often feels more grounded, centered, peaceful.
And 440 Hz.
The argument is that 440 Hz, being slightly higher and not harmonically aligned with these natural resonances in the same way, creates a subtle, almost imperceptible tension or agitation in the listen. Think of it like a tiny a low-level stressor embedded in nearly all Western music.
A kind of background psychic static.
That's one way to put it. It could potentially keep the nervous system slightly activated, slightly stressed, making people perhaps more anxious, more easily agitated, and maybe more susceptible to fear-based narratives or consumerist impulse. It's frequency control on a mass scale, hidden in plain sight within our music.
It really paints a picture of an environment, visual and auditory, that might be subtly engineered to keep consciousness within certain manageable bounds.
Yes, the underlying math of reality, like Fibonacci and phi, points towards inherent elegance and harmony. But the engineered reality we often inhabit the architecture.
Yeah.
The sounds can be deliberately disharmonious. Recognizing the natural patterns helps you see where the artificial distortions might.
Okay, let's pivot now to the digital realm, the internet, this planetary nervous system.
Yeah.
How are Thoth's principles, the ideas of the divine messenger, playing out there?
Well, Thoth was the god of communication, knowledge, writing. The internet is functionally the modern equivalent. But the techniques being used online to capture and direct attention, they seem like direct descendants of ancient psychological methods, the kind initiates of Thoth might have understood.
Social media as modern hypnosis. Let's start with TikTok.
TikTok is almost a perfect storm of rhythm and vibration principles weaponized. That endless, unpredictable scroll, rapid-fire video clips, intense sound, quick emotional hits, it's designed to bypass your rap. The sheer speed and unpredictability prevent your conscious mind from analyzing. It induces a light trance state driven by the rhythm. It's like ancient temple practices using drums or chanting, but digitized and hyper-personalized. Your critical faculties are essentially suspended.
And Instagram, you called it weaponized hieroglyphs.
Think about ancient Egypt. Hieroglyphs weren't just letters, they were symbols carrying complex meanings directly to the subconscious, bypassing linear thought. Instagram does the same with image. The colors, the composition, the filters, the implied lifestyles. It's all visual syntax speaking directly to your desires, your sense of self, your consumption patterns. It's programming through carefully crafted symbols, just like Thoth understood.
Then there's Twitter, forcing complex thoughts into tiny boxes.
That character limit is genius. It forces nuanced ideas into short, punchy, highly memorable phrases, apopha, like ancient proverbs or mantras. Easy to repeat, easy to go viral. Complex issues get reduced to emotionally charged sound bites. They become like digital incantations spreading through the collective mind.
We should revisit those corporate logos again now with this lens, Google and the chakra colors.
Yeah, that alignment, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, mostly matching the lower energy sun. It subtly reinforces their position as the fundamental gateway. Accessing Google becomes, on some deep level, like accessing your own foundational energy or knowledge base.
Apple selling the forbidden knowledge archetype.
Constantly, it's baked into their branding. Think different, accessing power, breaking limitations through their sleek technology. It plays right into that deep human desire to transcend, to gain secret wisdom, fostering immense brand loyalty.
And Amazon's A to Z smile.
It's brilliant messaging. The A to Z implies total coverage, dominion over everything, all commerce, all information. And the smile makes that total control seem friendly, convenient, happy. It's power masked as service. And
What about these new mystery schools, platforms like Netflix or video games, acting as modern initiations?
ancient mystery schools guided initiates through stages, levels of knowledge. Look at Netflix. The algorithms curate content, guiding you through personalized levels of information and entertainment. The autoplay function is critical here.
Because it removes conscious choice?
Exactly. It keeps you in the flow, passively receiving programming tailored to your profile. You get drawn into these personalized reality bubbles, your worldview subtly shaped without active engagement. It's like a passive initiation into a specific curated reality.
And video games.
They use the same reward loops as ancient initiations challenge, skill acquisition, leveling up, achieving mastery, getting rewards. It's incredibly engaging, but often the mastery stays confined to the digital realm. It hooks the brain's reward system, harvesting massive amounts of time, attention, and creative energy that might otherwise be applied to, well, real-world mastery or expansion.
Okay, this one's a bit chilling. Revelation of the method. The idea that control systems have to reveal their tactics.
It's a really deep occult and psychological principle. The idea is that for manipulation to work on certain energetic or karmic levels, there needs to be a form of consent, even if it's passive or unconscious. By showing the method, by making the manipulation somewhat obvious, the system clears itself karmic.
So when news outlets seem blatantly biased, or social media admits to running psychological experiments,
They are, in a sense, revealing the trick. Look, this is how we influence you. If the population sees the manipulation but continues to engage, continues to consent by consuming, then on some level, responsibility shifts. You were shown the wires, but you still watched the puppet show. It requires your tacit agreement to be fully effective.
okay, so if you, the listener, are tracking with all this, if you're seeing these patterns, feeling the pulse, the sources say this isn't just you noticing, it's you receiving some communication, like Jung's idea of synchronicity.
Exactly. Carl Jung called synchronicity a causal connecting principle, meaningful coincidences that just don't make sense through normal cause and effect. But what if they're not random? What if they are, as these sources suggest, deliberate signals?
Breadcrumbs from the system or from thoughts.
Perhaps operating through the quantum field, responding to your own consciousness, its focus, its quality. Like the universe is leaving you personalized.
And these notes, these synchronicities, they follow the math we talked about, Fibonacci golden ratio.
Often, yes. The patterns aren't just random numbers. They adhere to the same mathematical principles that govern growth and harmony in nature. The most common ones people report are numerical, seeing 11.1 or 3.33 or 4.44 constant, especially during big life changes or decisions.
Let's talk about that case study, Sarah, the software engineer and the 444s. That sounds intense.
It was. She was successful in Silicon Valley, but felt totally trapped. Then, around her mid-30s, 4.44 started to clocks, license plates, receipts, even showing up in code errors she was debugging.
Just once in a while.
No, relentless. For about 3 months, she documented seeing it multiple times a day, sometimes up to 10 times. It was overwhelming.
And 444 is often interpreted as
a sign related to building solid foundation, structure, stability, sometimes mastery or angelic guidance. It coincided perfectly with this growing inner feeling that she had to leave her job and pursue something meaningful in renewable energy.
But that's a scary leap.
Terrifying, huge financial risk. But the 444 pattern became so insistent, so unavoidable, she felt compelled. And here's the clincher. The day she finally submitted her resignation to launch her solar startup, the 444 appearance stopped completely, like the message had been received and acted.
Wow. That's a powerful example of the reality shift in action. What about the other kind? Information cascade. The right person or info showing up just in time.
Like Jennifer, the filmmaker, passionate about indigenous water rights, but broke, couldn't get funding. Feeling totally defeated after another rejection, she missed her usual train home.
Just a random delay.
But on the later train, she ends up standing next to a woman reading an environment. They start talking. Jennifer pours out her passionate doc, and the woman turns out to head a foundation specialized exactly that area. She didn't just get funded, she got a powerful ally. Missing the train created this improbable, perfect alignment.
Okay, this connects back to the idea of the collective programming matrix, this shared psychic space we all inhabit. How is it weaponized so effectively on a mass scale?
A key mechanism is mirror neurons. These brain cells fire automatically when we watch someone else, making us unconsciously mimic or feel an urge to copy their actions or even their...
It's like yawning when someone else yawns.
Exactly, but much more pervasive. Social media algorithms are brilliant at exploiting. They flood your feed with high-frequency examples of specific behaviors, trends, opinions, emotionals. Your mirror neurons pick it up, absorb it, and suddenly millions of people adopt a slang term or fashion trend almost overnight, often without conscious...
And fear is the primary tool for control within this matrix?
Physiologically, yes. Fear-based messaging from news headlines, political ads, health warnings, whatever triggers stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. When those flood your system, guess what shuts down?
The rational brain.
Your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for critical thinking, long-term planning, nuanced analysis. You revert to a more primitive, survival-oriented state. And in that state, people are much more suggestible, more compliant, less likely to question authority or think independently. It's a biological hack.
So reclaiming mental sovereignty is job one. How do we actually...
Step one is rigorous source discrimination. You have to start questioning where your thoughts are coming from. Is this genuine insight, or is it something I absorbed from the news, from social media, from that anxious conversation yesterday? Programmed thoughts, especially fear-read ones, often carry a feeling of urgency, pressure, anxiety. They feel reactive. Authentic insights arising from your deeper self or higher awareness usually arrive with a sense of clarity, peace, resonance, even simplicity. Feels quieter, more...
And this requires daily practice, like mental hygiene.
Non-negotiable. Like brushing your teeth. You have to consciously clear out the psychic gunk you pick up every day from the meditation, breath work, spending time in nature, visualizing a protective energy field around you, whatever works for you. It's about strengthening your own signal so the external noise doesn't hijack your system.
This process of clearing and raising frequency often triggers an emotional purging phase, right? That sounds uncomfortable.
It can be, yeah. As your consciousness expands and your frequency rises, anything dense or unresolved within you, old traumas, suppressed grief, limiting beliefs, gets pushed to the surface to be dealt. It has to come up first.
And this can mess with relations.
Definitely. You start vibrating at a different level, and you might find you no longer resonate with certain people, habits, or situations. Friendships might fall away. Relationships might need renegotiation or end. You're simply no longer willing or able to participate in lower frequency pattern, and your reality adjusts accordingly. It's necessary shedding, even if it's painful.
Okay, so we've mapped the code, recognized the sign, understood the need for inner clearing. Now, how do we become active players? Conscious co-creation, aligning our will with that higher order, Ma, as the Egyptian.
It starts by recognizing that consciousness is a technology, and ancient sites were arguably advanced labs for working with this technology. Think about the King's Chamber in the Great Pyramid.
The granite construction, the piezoelectric effect.
Exactly. Those massive granite blocks, rich in quartz, generate an electrical field when vibrated or put under pressure. The chamber's specific dimensions and material created a field likely tuned around 110 Hz. Modern research shows frequencies in that range can suppress the left brain's language
and activate the right brain's intuitive, holistic processing.
Precise. Promoting theta and gamma brainwaves, states associated with deep meditation, insight, even mystical experience. The pyramid wasn't just a tomb. It was potentially a consciousness-altering device, a bioacoustic resonance.
And Gothic cathedrals achieved something similar with sound and space.
Yes. Different methods, similar goal. The soaring height, the sacred proportions, they enhance alpha brainwave state. Combine that architecture with resonant sound like chanting or organ, and you get what some call acoustic levitation. The sound waves in space literally help lift your awareness out of the mundane, bypassing the critical faculty and opening you to...
So we don't need to build a pyramid in the backyard.
Thankfully, no. We can personalize the lab, use tools consciously, sound therapy, Tibetan bowls tuned to 432 Hz, specific binaural beats for theta or gamma, sacred geometry. Arrange your workspace using golden ratio principles to enhance focus and flow. Even simple things like having a small fountain for negative ions can improve mental clarity, mimicking the clean energy the ancients worked with.
What about manifestation itself? Quantum physics and the observer effect seem key here.
They provide the modern validation for men. Quantum physics shows that reality at the most fundamental level exists as potential waves until observed. The act of conscious observation collapses the wave function into a specific outcome. Your focused awareness literally chooses which possibility manifests.
But just thinking about something isn't enough. Right. You mentioned emotional coherence.
Crucial. Thoughts alone are weak signals in the quantum. They need power. That power comes from emotion, and emotions act like the carrier wave for your thought. To manifest effectively, you can't just visualize. You must generate the feeling of the desired reality as if it's already.
So feel the gratitude now for what you desire.
Yes. Genuine gratitude for the present, combined with the embodied joy and certainty of the future. Feel it in your body. That emotional coherence is what gives the signal the strength to impress itself upon the field and draw the manifest.
And speaking into existence using sound.
This links back to cymatics, the study of how sound shapes matter. You've seen those videos of sand forming complex geometric patterns on a vibrating plate. Sound literally organizes physical reality. Speaking your intentions aloud, clearly in the present tense, especially in receptive brainwave states like alpha just after waking, is like singing your reality into being. You're creating a vibrational template.
Okay, for someone listening who's ready to really apply this, let's outline that 30-day protocol, a practical synthesis.
Right. 3 phases, roughly 10 days, building the foundation, amplifying the signal, integrating the result.
Days 110, foundation building. What's the focus?
Clarity and coherence. Start with daily coherent breathing, like 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out, to regulate your nervous. Get crystal clear on your intention, write it down in the present tense, then vividly visualize it using all 5. What does it look, feel, sound, smell, even taste like? Make it real for your brain and body.
Days 11-20, amplification, turning up the volume.
Exactly. Now you add energy. Introduce consistent sound work aligned with your intention. For example, binaural beats for abundance. Practice speaking your intention aloud, feeling the Crucially, focus on embodying the emotional state of already having it throughout your day, not practice. Feel that fulfilled joy as often as possible.
Days 21-30, integration and refinement. What happens?
Shift focus slightly towards service. How does achieving this intention benefit not just you, but the wider world? This aligns it with a higher preventing ego. Practice timeline jumping meditation, consciously feeling yourself into the reality where it's already done, living from that. This signals finality to the quantum you've made.
And this personal work isn't just personal, as morphic resonance suggests it impacts everyone.
That's the theory, pioneered by Rupert Sheldrake. It suggests that once a certain number of individuals learn a new behavior or it becomes easier for all other members of to act like a collective field effect.
The 100th monkey effect is the classic.
Right. So when you break through a limiting belief, like deep-seated scarcity thinking, you're not just freeing yourself. You're potentially making it energetically easier for thousands, maybe millions of others to make that same. You're blazing a trail in the collective consciousness.
So each person doing this work becomes an anchor.
Yeah, an anchor point for a higher, and that's incredibly important. It requires holding that state with compassionate detachment, letting others be where they are, but firmly embodying the higher vibration yourself. By doing so, you help lift the entire collective average, creating space for a new reality.
This has been incredibly illuminating. We've traced thought's ancient code, seen its mathematical signature in the world, and uncovered how these same deep principles are being used, sometimes misused, in our digital age.
And hopefully we've shown that these aren't just abstract ideas. The Hermetic principles, sacred geometry, frequency, this is the actual. It drives conscious, and it drives the systems trying to shape. Knowing this is the key to reclaiming your power, shifting from program participant to conscious.
So for everyone listening, your awakening, this pull you might be feeling, it's not an accident. It's potentially your vital contribution to a much larger shift, maybe the biggest evolutionary leap humanity has faced. Remember, the ancient temples weren't just monuments. They were operating manuals for the technology of consciousness.
And if the universe really does conspire to support manifestations aligned with collective with that higher harmony, what world-serving, high-frequency goal could you set for yourself starting today that would unleash an absolutely unstoppable cascade of synchronicity?